with Ben Yagoda, the author of the new book, How to Not Write Bad. Ben is a professor of English at the University of Delaware. We have three participants with us, Ira, Juan David, and Rita, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. Good morning, Ira.
Hello, good morning. Well, my name is Ira, and I'm from Mexico, and I'm a systems engineer.
Good morning. Juan David.
Hi, good morning. I'm from Spain, and I'm an architect.
Architect, Oh, okay, we lost your sound there for a second, but and Rita, good morning, or good afternoon.
I'm from Portugal. My name is Rita, and I'm a freelance web designer.
Very good. Thank you all for joining us. And Ben, hi. And so this is your 10th book, How to Not Write Bad. Should it be How to Not Write Bad, or should it be How to Not Write Badly?
Well, great question, and thanks so much for having me, and great to be with everybody. Technically, grammatically, you're absolutely right. It should be How to Not Write Badly, and I confess that I made it How to Not Write Bad for the sake of a joke, which I've been accused many times of sacrificing truth for the sake of a joke. But there's also a bit of a more serious point in that I like to have somewhat of a playful approach to language, to have writing and language be fun and not deadly, dull, and dry. And that's part of the point of the book, and implicitly I tried to make that point by making the title ungrammatical.
So basically, really this should be, to be grammatically correct, it should be How to Not Write Badly.
Right, but how boring would that be?
Right, I understand. And we have a presentation which I'll be running from here. Let's pull this up, How to Not Write Bad or Badly. 8 writing mistakes you're probably making. So Ben, why don't you walk us through some of these writing mistakes?
Sure, I'd be delighted. And you know, we don't have a huge amount of time, so it may not be 8, it might be 7, 6, or I don't know, maybe 1. But I guarantee that they are worthwhile things to talk about and listen to. So just a little bit more general about the approach to the book. A lot of it has to do with levels of formality in writing. I teach, as you mentioned, writing and journalism at the University of Delaware, and I've been doing it for 20 years, which coincidentally is about the time that things have all changed with the internet, email, blogs, chatting, etc., etc., etc. And these all introduced new levels of informality to writing. And I find my students often are very good writers in these informal settings. Very funny, gripping, good storytelling, good description of complicated facts sometimes. But when they're writing in a classroom or for publication, because my classes are really about writing journalism for publication, they understand that they have to be more formal, but they don't really know how to do that without being too technical, too dry, too wordy. The analogy I have is they've spent their whole life wearing a t-shirt, shorts, sandals, and having a great time at the beach, and they really are good at dressing in that way. Then all of a sudden they're invited to a formal wedding or a reception, and they have to, if they're a boy, wear a suit and tie, a woman wear some kind of formal wear, and they have no idea how to do that. So they might put their tie on backwards or put 2 arms into the same jacket. That's a little bit some of the problems that I find of students' work in the classroom, and that I see on the internet in people's writing around the world. So that's really what the book is about, and what we'll talk about today is some of the key points in the book. So the first slide, if
there we go, it's up.
Yeah, and that's related to being wordy. And is it a quote that says, "Not only do journalists, etc." Is that how it starts?
It says being wordy. So we're going to talk about wordy, meaning using more words than you need to use to make a point.
Exactly. More words than you need, and words that are too long and too complicated that you need. And we'll get to that particular issue later. But you know, it's often said of Charles Dickens, the novelist, that he was paid by the word, and that's why his books are so long. When I get students' work, it's almost as if they are paid by the word and by the syllable and by the letter, because there's too much of it. They don't think in terms of the reader, someone who is devoting his or her time to reading your work. They are busy. They don't have time to wade through long word after long word after long word. And in fact, they'll put it down. They'll go to something else. There's so many things demanding our attention. So what you see on the slide, if you could put it up, Avi, is...
It's up right now.
Okay. It's an actual sentence that a student of mine wrote in an advanced class. And it's hard to even say. Not only do journalists possess an undying passion to uncover and showcase relevant information to enhance them. And one mark is that if you're reading a sentence aloud, if you have to take a breath in the middle of it, it's too long. Sometimes even 2 breaths you'll have to do. But exhibit a willingness to go to great lengths, etc., etc., etc. So I think it's pretty clear that that's not so great, and you might even call it writing bad or badly. Just too many words, a lot of cliches like fit to print, the public's showcase relevant information, just too many words. They're abstract words. They're not specific words. So often that something like that is the first thing to come out of our pen or our mouth. So it goes down there, and then you have to go back and edit it, rework it, try different ways. So I think there's another slide of a sentence that essentially means the same thing.
So here it is. Here it is shortened. Did you ask the student to shorten the sentence, or is this just an example of how you could shorten it?
Right. This is me. The shortening is me. I didn't. I mean, I did ask the student. I don't have recorded what he or she did, but in and in writing the book, I collected some of these examples of some of the problems, and in doing the book, I took my shot at improving them. Now, looking at that sentence, to me, it's a mix. It's a short sentence. You can say it without holding your breath, taking a new breath. It doesn't. There's no information in the first sentence that's not in the second sentence, and it's a mix of big words and small words. You don't want to have all small words because it sounds too simplistic, and all big words is hard to read. So
indefatigable.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind defining that.
Well, that's the one word that's kind of a hard word, and if there's a hard word or a long word that really says what you want to say, and there's no better word, I say go for it. That's good. If readers, and what about the readers? Well, let me ask you guys out there, if I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're not familiar with that word, indefatigable. So what did you think when you came across that word in the sentence? Yeah, anybody, just jump in.
Ira, Juan David, Rita, do you? I think I would actually have to go to my dictionary to. I think I know what that means. Do any of you? What do you think it means?
I don't know idea.
I think that the idea is to always be looking for new stories or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So like what word do you think that idea that they're trying to convey right there, just from the context of the sentence? They're passionate about their work and indefatigable in tracking down stories. So what synonyms?
Tireless, no.
What?
Tireless is a synonym, I think.
One more time. I didn't catch what you said.
Sorry, tireless.
Tireless.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's really a great comment, because that's really, you know, I said before that there's no other word, and in fact I was wrong, and you're right, because tireless pretty much means the same thing, and you wouldn't really lose anything. I use this one in part because tireless is a word that is in American writing a bit overused. It's a bit of a tired word, and so indefatigable is a bit stronger, and it also can keep readers on their toes, that they're not quite familiar, but you guys figured out, you weren't familiar with the word, you figured out what it meant, and there's something that is called a context clue. You read the context of the sentence, that gives you a clue to what it means. And there's one more clue, Avi, before you have to go to the dictionary. There's nothing wrong with going to the dictionary. That's why they make a dictionary. But you don't want readers to be having to go through there either in print or online every sentence. And the clue is a root word that's within that bigger word. So in you guys' language, if you, I think everybody is from a Romance language. People from China might not be able to do this, but the word in English, fatigue, to be fatigued, it's another word that means tired. It's a little less common. It's a little more striking. So,
and I see that in there.
Means to be able to get tired. Indefatigable means unable to even become tired or fatigued. So between the context clue and the language clue, readers, I thought, would have a sense of that. But it's a bit of a gamble, because you don't want to use too many words like that, because it may frustrate your readers, make them say, oh, I'm tired of this. So you're always a little bit on that edge of being simple on the one hand and maybe a little more complicated on the other.
All right, so do you want me to go ahead to the next slide here, or?
Sure, and if anybody has any questions or comments, jump in. But
Ira, do you have any questions or comments about the? Here, I'll go back to that slide, to the idea of being wordy. I mean, is it what about when you're writing things for work, or for when you were in school, in university? Did you try to make things sound, very formal, or did you try to, make them sound less formal? And I think Wanda just dropped that.
I try to make the things the most simple as I can.
Okay. Yeah. And Rita, any questions for Ben, or comments on the first part of the?
No, not really.
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
We have the chat box here in our technology, so maybe I could ask if people have questions or comments, they could put it there, then I could engage in that.
Well, we're hoping to get Juan David back. Looks like he dropped his connection, so he should be back shortly. Okay, I will. Let me go ahead and pull the. So the next slide is called Starting Week.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Ben?
Well, it's a bit of a fine point. We've gone from a pretty simple rule to something that's a little more advanced and sophisticated. But it also relates to this simple, the value of writing simply and clearly versus in a complicated fashion. I found over the years that in English and in, I believe, your languages as well, the grammar is subject, verb, noun, verb. That's the basic structure of a sentence. As with using big words, I've found that a lot of students like to change around that structure. They think it's so-called good writing, air quotes, to have a structure that's different from the normal one rather than the simple one. And the same principle. Sometimes that's good for variation, and sometimes the sentence calls for that, but 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, a subject-verb, with the subject being the main person, thing, organization that took an action, being the subject of the sentence. So I think I have some examples up here on the...
So we have intelligence is a quality shared by every member of the family. Do you want me to go to the next slide too, or?
Yeah, maybe put up 2 and we can talk about it.
Okay, and then the second one is everybody in the family is smart.
Okay, so similar deal. And let me know if you guys, if that's not clear, but the first sentence, which was an actual sentence written by a student, it took as the subject of the sentence intelligence. And it led, by making that choice, it led to a kind of long, not very strong sentence. If the verb is, which is to be, sometimes that's appropriate, but often that's a clue of what I call not a very strong sentence. Passive voice. So all those, the problems with that sentence, intelligence, it's a long-winded sentence. Intelligence is a quality shared by all the members of the family. All those things resulted in the choice of intelligence as the subject. So what's that idea in that sentence really about? Who or what is the main actor, the main character, like you're talking about a movie or a play? Who's the main character in the sentence?
You mean in the first one? Intelligence is a...
Right, or in both. Yeah, is it intelligence, or what are we really? Who are we really talking about?
Ira, what do you think about that sentence? Who's the
I
main...
think in the first sentence the focus is in the intelligence. In the second sentence, the subject is everybody.
Okay,
Right.
and what about Rita? What do you think?
And the first one is intelligence too, and second one I think it's the family.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so...
Right, exactly. So what are we writing about? We're not writing a psychology book. We're not writing about intelligence. That's not really our subject here. We're writing about this family. So if we're writing about the family, let's make the sentence start off with the family, not with intelligence. So just that choice, it's a strategy, leads to a simpler, stronger, clearer sentence that your readers are gonna want to keep on reading as opposed to the first.
And Ben, let me just ask, in an academic writing setting, as a professor, you know, you have to grade students' writing. If you got the first sentence versus the second sentence, I mean, do you think the second one, some students might be afraid that it sounds too informal?
Right.
But how would you feel as a professor in the English department?
Well, it's a great question, and as I said earlier, I teach journalism and other kinds of writing that are meant for the public, not academic writing. So it doesn't really apply to my classes. Sometimes, or I would say often, students come in and they've had experience in other kinds of classes where it is more of an academic model. So for some professors and scholars feel that the longer the word, the better, that passive voice is a good thing, that long sentences and wordiness are good things. And students have come through the education system and have gotten praise and good grades for this kind of thing. So I'm a little bit of a counteraction to that.
Is the message then that to some extent it depends on your audience, which when you're writing something you should always be thinking about your audience, but in this case the audience may be the professor or the kind of subject matter or the way the literature tends to be written in, if it's political science or economics or something.
Right, and as I said at the outset, there's different levels of formality. I feel, and I tell my students, that no matter which level of formality, it's not good to use more words than you need. It's harder to write more concisely, no matter which level it is, but it's always better because you're going to relate better to your readers. They're going to understand what you have to say better. So even though I'm not teaching academic writing, I think these principles can help in academic writing as well.
Well, Ben, I think we are actually going to have to start wrapping up here. Let me just very quickly go to the next slide and see. Okay, here's another example. I think we'll just maybe let people see. Here's another set of the same topic, the idea of an example of starting weak and then a stronger way. So, and I think maybe we'll Ben, any comments on this last pair of sentences?
Yeah, read it aloud if you could, Avi. I can't.
Okay, the first one says, there are 5 poets who have given readings at this school this year.
Yeah.
And then you have rewritten it as 5 poets have given readings at the school this year.
Right.
Ben, should we ask one of our participants to for their thoughts? Or
yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, we haven't had Juan David. Thanks for rejoining us. And did you see those 2 sentences?
Yes, I can see it.
What did you think of the difference between them? I'll put them up on the screen again there.
I think it's the information is the same more or less in these 2 sentences, but it's shorter in the second one. It's shorter, and I think it's a good thing because I remember one sentence when I was studying that the idea is if you can express the same idea with less letters or phrases or words, sorry, it's better in general, no? Less number of words.
Yes, absolutely. I like the way you think.
And let's go to Ira. Ira, any thoughts on the 2 sentences?
Well, basically, I agree with Juan. The 2 sentences mean the same, but we are using less words in the second one, and I think it sounds better. No? It's more straight to the reader.
All right. And Rita, you are going to get the final word on this. What do you think of the difference between those 2 sentences?
The second one is more direct. You can understand faster.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think my Spanish is very, very old and very, very rusty, but is the word I, H-A-Y-I, there is, and it's a kind of lazy way to start, and it's the same principle as before, that a strong subject. What's the subject? 5 poets. These poets have given readings at the school. There are is just kind of words that don't advance the idea. They don't provide any meaning to the reader, and sometimes it takes a little work to examine the sentence and find a way to, as all you said, be more direct, briefer, stronger, and it takes some time. That's maybe the message I'd like to leave people with, that what comes out first is okay. There may not be mistakes, but it's not strong, effective writing, and it takes a little while to make that into strong writing, but you can definitely do it.
Well, Ben Yagoda, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Ben Yagoda, a professor in the English department at the University of Delaware. His 10th and newest book is called How to Not Write Bad, the Most Common Writing Problems and the Best Ways to Avoid Them. And I want to thank Ira in Mexico, Juan David in Spain, and Rita in Portugal for joining us for our Hangout today. You can watch all of our videos at the VOA Learning English channel on YouTube, and our homepage is learningenglish.voanews.com. I'm Avi Arditi in Washington. Thanks so much for joining us. See you next time.
you.